What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a very special video because as of the day that this video goes up online, it's my birthday. So you can wish me happy birthday in comments below or not. It doesn't really matter to me, but it's my birthday. As of uploading this video, as of recording this video, it is the day before my birthday. So you better wish me happy birthday in the comment section below. I will find you and come to your house. Just kidding, I won't do that. But you can wish me happy birthday if you'd like. But today I'm going to be giving you my Big Ten power rankings for Week 7. So this week in the Big Ten, not a very exciting week. However, this week I reflected a little bit on my power ranking, my power ranking criteria. I've adjusted a little bit, and it led to some massive swings, mainly among the bottom teams. But we will get into that in a little bit. As of right now, this is my second to last Big Ten power ranking I'm going to do. I'm going to do one after next week as well. I think pretty much on schedule, or it'll be up a day or two later, or a day or two earlier. I'm just not going to do one after Big Ten Champions Week, and you'll see why coming up here in a future video. But for right now, second to last power rankings of the year. Let's get into it. We have a new bottom team, and Rutgers didn't really show up at all against Penn State. Only 7 points, and it was kind of gifted to them. Penn State laxed off towards the end, but Penn State also played a good game, but Rutgers just couldn't get anything going, had no momentum in this game at all, and that's why they dropped 2 spots to the bottom here. I mean, not much more to say about Rutgers, although it is a win for Rutgers this season. Getting the 2-5, it is more than a win. They have had, 4 wins in their past 3 seasons or something like that. I mean, it's not been good recently for Rutgers, and this year has been better. I think Rutgers is getting better. You look at their stats, that's definitely better than what it has been in years past. They just didn't show up last week. It was hard for me to put Rutgers at the bottom because they're not a bad team. They're a very solid team when they're playing the game they want to play, but as of right now, I can't believe that Rutgers just didn't show up against Penn State while they're down here at number 14. But fighting with Rutgers for the bottom spot, well, not intentionally, but fighting with Rutgers for the bottom spot is the Illinois Fighting Illini, who got into an early jump against Iowa, but ended up losing by 14. They dropped 3 spots from last week's rankings. Again, Illinois, I thought, could be a solid team this year. To me, Illinois has underperformed. I thought Illinois could have been a better team than what they're playing out to be. They've had to deal with some troubles, but and they've also faced some pretty good teams, but they have a couple good wins as well. So that is why they are not at the bottom. I feel like their wins are better than Rutgers' wins. But I mean, they also have 1 fewer loss. But this Illinois team got out and played a good first 20, 25 minutes against Iowa. They just let it slip away. They weren't playing their game. And overall, I mean, I feel like this Illinois team can improve everywhere quite a bit. I feel like I said this already, but I feel like they could put more out on the football field. Until I see that happen, they're not going to move out of the double digits. They're at number 13. At number 12, well, they didn't play last week, but they are back at practice as of recording this video. Monday's practice for Michigan went well. Again, it is not Tuesday yet, so I have no idea about their Tuesday practice. But as of right now, that Ohio State game is still going to be played. That game against Maryland was not played, and they drop a spot to number 12. Michigan has also underperformed this year. They have not looked the best at all. Don Brown's defense does not look like a Don Brown defense, usually one of the best defenses in the country, and it's one of the worst this year. Definitely one of the worst among Big Ten. You look almost 34.5 points per game, which is tied for 12th among Big Ten teams, and allowing well over 400 yards. Now they're gaining well over 400 yards, which good on them. But we'll have to see. Again, this Ohio State team is really good. We'll have to see if they can come out and play a better game. Michigan at number 12. Number 11 is the Michigan State Spartans, and I don't drop them too far after losing to Ohio State, as Ohio State came out and put on an absolute clinic against the Spartans. On the defense, that really isn't all that bad. You see they're giving up a lot of points this year, but, well, I mean, the defense is the better half of the football, at least. The offense, again, turnovers were an issue. And that's just who this Michigan State team is. They can't seem to hold on to the football. Well, you might be thinking, well, if they can't do that, why are they at number 11? Because I feel like if they were to play Illinois right now, they would beat Illinois, and they have a tiebreaker with the win over Michigan. That is why they are at number 11. Again, head-to-head means a lot to me. It factors in a lot when I make these power rankings. So they dropped 2 spots from last week after pulling off an upset win. I feel like this is a good place for Michigan State to be. I mean, it's not too low. It's not too high. But this Michigan State team has got to learn to hold on to the football, because when they hold on to the football, a.k.a. Michigan and Northwestern, they won the games because their defense did enough to stop them. So if Michigan State can hold on to the football in this game against Penn State, they might have a good chance of winning. But I mean, the offense just seems to turn the football over way too much. We're going to have to see who this starting quarterback is going to be, because Peyton Thorne played really, really well. I mean, really well. He played well against Ohio State for the times he played, and Rocky Lombardi just didn't play all that great. We'll have to see if they turn to Thorne to be that starting quarterback. I feel like they might, and Michigan State, Penn State, going to be a very interesting game to watch, but after losing to the Buckeyes, they're down 2 spots to number 11. Purdue has dropped significantly as well to number 3. A team with a lot of great playmakers is on a 3-game losing streak after a 10-point loss to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now they get Indiana next week. I don't know that they're going to be able to turn that win streak around. Indiana looks like a really good team. But again, overall, when you look at the stats, pretty balanced offensively and defensively. With Rondo more on the field, this offense looks different. It looks more potent, especially with Jack Plummer back at quarterback. We did find out Aiden O'Connell is going to be out the rest of the season, however long that season happens to be for Purdue. But they're losing games, which makes me think maybe they'll go with a different guy. But I mean, Jack Plummer's played well. I think the problem in the past 3 games has been the Purdue defense. They have not been able to slow down offensive productions. They gave up 37 points in their past 2 games, and they gave up 34 to Minnesota, around an average of 35, 36 points per game in their last 3. Their defense has to do some work to turn it around if Purdue wants to beat Indiana. Now that is probably going to be a defensive game, and it'll come down to whichever offense. Again, I'll preview those games next week, more on Thursday. But this Purdue team, I still feel like is better than what their record shows. I don't know if they're going to be able to turn it around against Indiana, but they maybe can make it interesting. Purdue is at number 10. Number 9 is the Penn State Nittany Lions, who make a huge jump from last week, up 5 spots from the last place all the way up to number 9. This Penn State team is starting to look like the Penn State team that we expected in the preseason. Now, it's not perfect by all means. It definitely is not the Penn State team we all thought it was going to be, as in, again, they're just down so many players, and players aren't playing up to expectations, et cetera, et cetera. But this Penn State team is starting to take form. They have some momentum going into Michigan State. They get the game at home. I feel like that's a very winnable game for Penn State. The last 3 games for Penn State were very winnable games for them. I feel like they're going to be able to continue the momentum. You'll have to wait to see my prediction on that game. I feel like that game could be close, but overall, when you look points-wise, there's some improvement there. But yardage-wise, they're second in both major categories in the Big Ten. So Penn State doing well for themselves in the past 2 games. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Penn State is heading in the right direction. It's still going to be a disappointing year, but regardless, Penn State makes a big jump to number 9. Nebraska also makes a huge jump, and you might be asking, well, why isn't Penn State ahead of Nebraska? Nebraska has the tiebreaker win over Penn State as they beat Purdue for their 2nd win of the season. They're up 5 spots now. They get Minnesota next week, which again is a winnable game for Nebraska. But this is the defense that has really turned it around. They played some good defense against Iowa. They played some good defense against Penn State. And finally, for the first time this season, Nebraska did not look like a high school team in the second half. They looked like a college team. They looked good. They weren't outscored greatly in the second half. They're one of the worst teams in FBS in second half point differential, and they were not outscored by that much. They were still outscored in the second half, but not by as much as Nebraska usually is. Defense, again, made some late stops, was able to keep Purdue away. Now, with that defense trending in the right direction, Adrian Martinez, we got to talk about him. He has played well in the past 2 games. Had a good game against Iowa, had a great game against Purdue. This offense is also starting to find its groove. So all of a sudden, Nebraska is getting into this rhythm. Now they have momentum to build. If that Minnesota game is going to be able to be played, of course, Minnesota dealing with COVID stuff. We hope they can be played, but Nebraska's making a lot of improvements late in the season. It's going to be too little, too late in terms of championship or bowl status, maybe. However, they make a big jump to number 8. And speaking of Minnesota, they are the number 7 team. They do move up a spot after not playing against Northwestern. Now, they did have to cancel the game. Again, this offense is still good for Minnesota, although Rashad Bateman has ended his college career. He has said, I'm opting out of the remainder of the season. And again, the story of the season has been how bad this Minnesota defense has been. Last in the Big Ten in opponent yards per game. Also last in the Big Ten. Last in the Big Ten in opponent points per game, and last in the Big Ten in opponent yards per game. Sorry, I mumbled. I mumbo-jumboed some words there. See, I can't talk today. But anyway, again, Minnesota, the offense is still there. They still have some good wide receivers like Ottman Bell. They still have Mohamed Ibrahim in the backfield. And again, Tanner Morgan, while not playing the best this season, he still played pretty well. Again, I'm not going to let it go. The Minnesota defense needs to step up and start making some plays if Minnesota wants to stay, or if Minnesota wants to keep winning. The game against Nebraska still in limbo at the moment. However, like all other Big Ten teams that have had COVID problems, they're trending in the right direction to be able to play on Saturday. Hope they can get back on the field. Minnesota does jump up a spot, though. They're at number 7. You're not going to see a whole lot of changes in the top 6 because the Maryland Terrapins stay here after not playing against Michigan. It's very hard to evaluate this Maryland team because the first 2 games of the season were not great for Maryland, while the second 2 games they played have been pretty good. So Maryland is kind of an interesting team to figure out. There's not a huge sample size here for Maryland. They are on pace to play against Rutgers this week. The offense is there. But the defense has some work to do if you're the Maryland Terrapins. I should go back and correct my statement. The first game that Maryland played against Northwestern was not good. Neither was the game against Indiana. However, when they played, Penn State and Minnesota, they looked really good on the offensive side of the ball. Again, it's been that defensive side that has been worrisome for Maryland. And I wonder if being off for a week might have an impact on Maryland. I think they were ready to go to play that Michigan game. It got canceled kind of late in the week. So we'll have to see if they are ready to go to play against Rutgers. They do get them at home, which helps. It's a hard team to figure out. Going to have to see if they're up to the task this week. Again, much like the story with Minnesota, just improve on your defense, and you are a pretty solid football team. Maryland's at number 6. Number 5 is the Wisconsin Badgers, who took a loss to Indiana, a 14-point favorite, and they score only 6 points. And I made a joke about Wisconsin's offense in my previous video, but they couldn't get anything going. This offense has just declined from where they have been. Still one of the better defenses in the Big Ten. As shown here, they limited a pretty potent offense to only 14 points, but their offense in and of itself was not good enough. Their offense was not good enough to get them the win, which was a bit surprising because coming out of the gate, Wisconsin's offense looked pretty good against Illinois and against Michigan. It looked like a good offense. It's just in these past 2 games against Northwestern and against Indiana, they have not looked the part. Now, I know those are against some pretty good defenses, but Wisconsin's offense exploded for points in the first 2 games. So they've really been struggling to score points as of late. I think that's going to hurt them in the game against Iowa. Iowa's got a pretty good defense. You'll have to wait until who I see to make that pick. But again, statistically, one of the better defenses, which I still think is accurate. The offense needs some work ahead of this game against Iowa. Wisconsin at number 5. Speaking of Iowa, they are here at number 4. Now, again, the story with Iowa is after dropping those first 2 games, they have stormed back to win 5 in a row, including having to come back from down 14 against Illinois. They do stay here at number 4 ahead of a game against Wisconsin, which I forgot to mention this when I looked at Wisconsin just a little bit ago, but that game is going to decide which team is second in the West and which team is third in the West, so that should be a pretty interesting game. I believe Minnesota could jump if they end up beating Nebraska, but again, that is a can of worms for a whole nother day. It's going to be an interesting game for sure, but Iowa's played really, really well. Now jumping up to second in points per game. They've absolutely exploded for points lately, and their defense is playing as good as ever. Iowa, one of the top teams in the Big Ten, exceeded my expectations this year. I know I've said that a lot, but I really can't overstate it. Iowa doesn't move a bit. They're at number 4. Northwestern did not play against Minnesota this week, coming off the upset. We're going to have to see how they feel going into Illinois, now going into the in-state rival in Illinois. Now, the thing about Northwestern is their defense is great, one of the best in the Big Ten, if not the best in the Big Ten. However, their offense is lacking. You see, they're only 25 points per game, which isn't a terrible number, but among Big Ten teams, that's 9th, and that is what led them to the loss against Michigan State. Their defense just didn't make plays, and when Northwestern's defense isn't making plays, it's going to be hard for the offense like that to catch up. Now, Northwestern could have one of the best offenses in the Big Ten. They have a lot of great playmakers and a veteran quarterback in Peyton Ramsey. It's just not working out the way it's all hoped. The reason Northwestern is 5-1 is because of their defense. Now, the game against Illinois, I don't know if they're going to have a problem with, but I do want to see how the offense plays in that game. And it's especially going to be important no matter who they play in the Big Ten championship game, whether that be Ohio State or Indiana, pending a Big Ten rule change if it comes. Northwestern, again, just got to improve on the offense in practice so they can do that. They might have a shot at the Big Ten title, but Northwestern doesn't move at all either. They're at number 3. Indiana also doesn't move after an impressive win against Wisconsin, and although the scoreboard only has 20 total points, this Indiana team absolutely rallied behind Tom Allen and Jack Tuttle, the Ohio State transfer from a couple years ago. He was the backup quarterback. Michael Penix got hurt, so Jack Tuttle had to come in for Indiana and played pretty well. The stats might not be super impressive, but in a defensive game, Jack Tuttle played well. Now, Indiana offense didn't look terribly great, but also Jack Tuttle getting used to the playmakers. Indiana's defense looked really good, and I'm going to go out and say this is probably one of the better defenses in the Big Ten, and I still think Indiana is going to be underrated because they do not have Michael Penix. I do think that is a huge factor come later in the line. Now, the game against Purdue probably going to be an offensive game, as Purdue has a pretty explosive offense when it gets going. As does Indiana. They have a lot of playmakers. It's just going to be whether Jack Tuttle can make plays or not. I'm going to have to see how they play against Purdue, but very much alive for a spot in the Big Ten championship game. They are very, very, very much alive. Again, pending a Big Ten rule change. If that rule change does come, it will be the team you're going to see at number 1. But as of right now, still alive for a Big Ten title. Indiana is at number 2. However, I don't know that they're going to be able to make the Big Ten championship because Ohio State, made a huge statement with the win against Michigan State, and also the game with Michigan still in limbo, but it looks like it is going to get played. Also, again, the Big Ten rule change might allow Ohio State to go forth with it. Anyway, best offense in the Big Ten, one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the country. And the defense picked up the slack last week. They played really well. Sean Wade was playing well as well. And it impressed me even more that they had guys out. Ohio State had 3 starting offensive linemen out. Their defensive captain, Tough Born, the linebacker, head coach Ryan Day, some key backup safeties and cornerbacks. But this Ohio State team came out and pulled out all the stops. definitely the best team in the Big Ten, very deserving of going to the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State does not move an inch. In fact, creates, in my opinion, an even bigger gap between them and Indiana. They remain the #1 team in the Big Ten. That's going to do it for my Big Ten Week 7 power rankings. Again, if you did not see at the beginning of the video, it is my birthday. I hope as you are watching this video, if not as of the date this video is being uploaded to YouTube. So feel free to wish me a happy birthday down in the comment section below and tell me, and again, feel free to tell me your thoughts on this video as well. Also, please leave a like. Also, consider subscribing if you are brand new to the channel or you just enjoy my content. Turn on notification bell so you do not miss an upload. And you can join Tailgate Nation. Give me a happy birthday present by doing that for me. You can also give me a birthday present by hitting the share button. Just looks like a little arrow. I know I can't see how many people share this video, but it does mean a lot because it helps the channel grow. I want to grow the channel as big as possible. So please share this video with everyone who likes Big Ten football as much as you and me. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.